Welcome to your deep dive. Today we're hanging out with Ellie Griffiths.
Laughter?
Not literally, sadly, but we're diving deep into a collection of her short stories.
True.
We've got tales from her Ruth Galloway series, some standalone pieces, even a story told by a cat.
Really?
Yes, you heard that right, a cat.
Wow.
Um,
It's pretty wild.
Her range is incredible, isn't it? She jumps between genres like a literary gymnast.
Yeah.
But there's always this thread of mystery and a deep connection to place, especially Norfolk.
Right. It's like Norfolk itself is a character in these stories. I always picture those big skies and windswept marshes when I'm reading her work.
Right.
Speaking of atmosphere, one thing that caught my eye was the recurring theme of crossing places. Beaches, marshes, even those hidden tunnels and churches, they all seem to represent these liminal spaces, these points of transition.
Interesting.
What do you think about that?
It's like she's highlighting those moments where we're on the edge of something new,
Yeah.
whether it's a physical journey, a change in our lives, or even a shift in how we see the world. And sometimes it's all of those things at once.
Right.
Take the story, Turning Traitor. It starts with this almost mythical image of the narrator's ancestors crossing from Europe to England when there was still a land bridge.
Whoa.
I know, it's wild, right?
It's such a powerful image, right?
Yeah.
It makes you think about how landscapes change, how entire continents shift over time.
Yeah.
But it also connects to the narrator's own emotional journey, this feeling of being caught between two worlds.
Exactly. It's like the past is still present in the landscape, shaping the present in ways we don't even realize.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of the past, those hider sprites gave me chills. Those mischievous little creatures lurking in the shadows, ready to lead you astray.
They're like the embodiment of those unpredictable forces that can knock us off course.
And they often appear in those crossing places, don't they? It's as if those liminal spaces are where the veil between worlds is thinnest.
Exactly. Like in The Land of the Hider Sprites, the protagonist is literally stepping into another realm when she encounters them.
It reminds me of those old folk tales where you're warned to be careful where you tread because you never know what you might stumble upon.
It's true.
Like you could fall through the world or something.
Laughter.
Right.
And those folktales are woven throughout so many of these stories, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's like Griffiths is tapping into this ancient well of storytelling, these archetypes and warnings that have been passed down for generations.
It's like she's reminding us that even in our modern world, there are still forces at play that we can't always explain,
Right.
and that sometimes the most familiar traditions have a darker, more mysterious side. I mean, who knew St. Lucy's Day could be so creepy?
Right. St. Lucy's Day perfectly blends this traditional Christian celebration of light with those local legends about ghost lights that lure people to their doom on the marshes.
Yeah.
That juxtaposition between light and darkness,
Yeah.
safety and danger. It's classic Griffiths.
It's like she's saying, don't get too comfortable. There's always more to the story than meets the eye. And speaking of things that are more than they seem, can we talk about the cats? Okay.
I mean, cats in churches, that's not something you see every day.
Especially not kidnapped cats. It's such a quirky detail.
Right.
But it makes you wonder, what's Griffiths getting at here?
Right. Like in that Ruth Galloway story, those cats keep turning up in this hidden space in a church.
Oh, right.
It's like they're seeking refuge, but it's also a bit eerie, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
And when you think about the historical context, churches were often seen as places of sanctuary, not just for people, but sometimes for animals, too.
So it's like those cats are tapping into this ancient tradition, even if they don't realize it.
It's possible.
But there's also this other layer, right? Cats have this whole mystical association in folklore. Like they can see things we can't.
Exactly. In some cultures, they were believed to be guardians of sacred spaces, protectors against evil spirits.
It's like they have this sixth sense, this awareness of something beyond our understanding.
Totally.
And maybe that's what draws them to those liminal spaces, those crossing places we were talking about earlier.
Right.
Maybe they sense those shifts in energy, those points where the veil between worlds is thin.
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it?
Mm.
And it makes you wonder what else might be lurking in those in-between spaces.
Okay, now you've got me thinking. What if those missing cats aren't just seeking refuge, but are actually drawn to something else in those churches? Maybe something they need to protect the human world from.
Ooh, I like where your head's at. Now that would be a story.
Right.
It's like Griffiths is planting these little seeds of doubt, making us question what's real and what's imagined. And she does that so well with her recurring names and objects, too. They're like these little breadcrumbs she leaves for us to follow.
Oh, tell me about it. The names kept jumping out at me. Felix, Lucy, Stella, they pop up again and again, but in such different contexts. It's like she's hinting at some deeper connection, but I can't quite put my finger on it.
That's the beauty of it, though, isn't it?
Right.
These recurring names become these open questions, these invitations for us to find our own meaning. Take Felix, for example. It means lucky in Latin, right?
Yeah, that's right. I never thought about that.
So is Griffiths suggesting these characters are lucky? Or is she playing with our expectations? Like maybe those named Felix are actually the ones who are most vulnerable, most likely to be tricked by those hider sprites.
Whoa, okay, now that is some next level analysis. And it's not just the names, is it? She also uses objects in really interesting ways. Handkerchiefs, silver offerings, books. They all seem to carry this weight beyond their physical presence.
Totally. It's like they become imbued with the energy of the story of the character's emotions. Remember that silver anatomical heart in one is silver. It's such a small detail, but it speaks volumes about the character's hope for healing, but also this underlying fear of the body's fragility.
Right. And then you have the red handkerchief in, well, the red handkerchief. It starts as this simple token of affection, but by the end, it represents this whole history of love and sacrifice. It's like it's absorbed the essence of their relationship.
And those objects often act as links between the different stories, too, like silent witnesses that have seen it all and hold the key to unlocking the bigger picture.
It's like that game we used to play as kids, connecting the dots to reveal a hidden picture. Only here we're connecting themes, characters, objects, and it all adds up to this incredibly rich and layered reading experience.
Exactly. And that's what I love about diving deep into any art form, whether it's literature, music, or even a podcast like this. It's about finding those hidden connections, those echoes of meaning that resonate across different works and draw us deeper into the experience.
Speaking of echoes, Griffiths really knows how to capture the power of place. Like, I can practically smell the salt air and hear the cries of the gulls when I'm reading those passages about the Norfolk coast. It's more than just a setting. It's like she's bottled up the essence of the place.
Totally. She uses those sensory details to pull us into this story, to make us feel like we're right there alongside the characters experiencing everything they're experiencing.
And it's not just the physical landscape, is it? It's the history, the folklore, those ancient stories that are woven into the very fabric of the place.
Right. And that's where those crossing places become so significant. They represent those points where the boundaries between the past and present the real and the supernatural become blurred.
It's like those spaces are portals to other realms, to other possibilities. And sometimes those realms can be pretty unsettling, like in The Farewell Boat, where the protagonist is haunted by this ghostly ship.
Ooh, that one stayed with me. The way she uses the ship as a metaphor for grief and letting go.
It was heartbreaking, but also so beautifully written. It reminded me that sometimes the most powerful stories are the ones that explore those difficult emotions, the ones that make us confront the darker aspects of ourselves and the world around us.
And she never shies away from those difficult emotions, does she? But even in those darker moments, there's always this underlying sense of hope, this belief in the resilience of the human spirit.
Absolutely. It's like she's saying life can be messy and painful, but there's always beauty to be found, even in the most unexpected places. And she does it all with this incredible blend of genres.
Right. One minute you're reading a classic whodunit, and the next you're tumbling down the rabbit hole of magical realism or historical fiction. It's like she's playing with our expectations, keeping us on our toes.
And just when you think you've got her figured out, she throws in a curveball like Flint's Fireside Tale, a Christmas story. I mean, a story told from the perspective of a cat.
I know, right? It was so unexpected, but so brilliantly done.
It's like she's saying, hey, what if we've been looking at things from the wrong perspective all along?
Totally. It's like those moments when you catch your cat staring at something intently and you wonder, what do you see that I don't?
Exactly. And maybe, just maybe, they see those hidden connections, those threads of magic and mystery that we're often too busy to notice.
And let's be real, cats are way more in tune with the unseen world than we are. They're always watching, listening, sensing things we miss. Griffiths really captures that in Flint's story.
Right. And it's not just the cat's perspective that makes that story so effective. It's Christmas, a time when we're already primed for a little magic and wonder.
Absolutely. And she plays with those expectations beautifully. We're so used to heartwarming Christmas stories, but Flint's tale has this edge of darkness, this hint of something ancient and unsettling lurking beneath the surface.
It's like she's reminding us that even the most familiar traditions have these hidden depths, these layers of meaning that we might not always recognize.
It's like she's saying, don't take anything for granted. Look closer. Listen to the stories whispered on the wind, hidden in plain sight.
And maybe, just maybe, if we pay close enough attention, we'll start to see those connections too, those echoes of the past and the present, the whispers of magic in the everyday.
Exactly. And who knows, we might even start to question what's real and what's imagined, just like those characters caught between worlds in Griffith's stories.
And isn't that what great storytelling is all about? Making us question, making us think, making us see the world in new and unexpected ways.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
It's about opening our minds to the possibilities, to the magic that exists just beyond the edges of our perception.
And to the power of stories to connect us all, even when those stories are told from the perspective of a cat.
Especially when they're told from the perspective of a cat. It's like Griffiths is reminding us that every creature, every place, every object has a story to tell.
We just have to be willing to listen.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into the captivating world of Elly Griffiths' short stories.
We hope you enjoyed this journey through her unique blend of mystery folklore and those oh-so-memorable Norfolk settings. What resonated with you? Which story are you adding to your to-read list? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep an eye out for those hidden connections. You never know where they might lead you.